And this is emergency preparedness demo that we're doing today. So I have a few comments to make here. First thing I wanted to say is that we're doing a demo of some emergency preparedness tools that we have been working on. So things that have been incorporated into Helpful Village, but as we often do, is not something we do alone. It's something that we have been working on with the invaluable help of our customers and villages and people we talk to. So thank you for their ideas and for helping us improve the platform. I wanted to say that there was a great presentation at the annual conference last week. I mean, there were many good presentations, but one of my favorites was this emergency preparedness presentation that was done by Jersey Village Senior Outreach near Houston, Texas, Sausalito Village, in Sausalito in the Bay Area, California, and Sale, which is Madison, Wisconsin. So all three villages got together to discuss and present how they were managing emergencies. And if you have not watched that presentation, we really recommend you go watch it, because they have a more kind of overview and management and organizational aspects of emergency preparedness that will not be covered today. Today, we're focusing on the tech side of emergency preparedness. So we recommend you go check out that presentation. I know the Village to Village Network sent an email this morning with the video recordings of the conference and the PowerPoints that they use. So I recommend you go check those out, because that presentation was really good. This demo includes some work we have done with them, also some ideas that sparked from those conversations, and we're hoping to improve with them over time. So it's a combination of work we have done already with them and other ideas we have been adding lately. So it's going to be exciting. This is a little bit of an agenda of different things that will be covered today in the demo. Kind of different steps that villages have been doing to be ready for emergencies. One of the things, and these are essentially things that villages were doing, just reproducing the steps that they identified. So basically identifying members that may need assistance, set up an evacuation plan, and emergency information collected from members, set up some neighborhood captains. So these three things is notably things that were done, particularly by Sausalito Village at first, in coordination with the fire department and the police department. Following the California fires, they got this plan up with asking a list of questions to their members of things they would like to know, an evacuation plan, what is the different information. I'm going to show you in the software what it's found, but it's essentially some work that they started. They also designated some neighborhood captains. It's essentially breaking down the village geography into different sectors, and for each one of those sectors, having a person that is kind of leading the local efforts and maybe knocking on doors of members if that needs to be. The second section here is about communicating with members. So this is some very interesting work that was done with JVSO in Jersey, Texas, where basically the main concern, I believe, is tornadoes, because it's tornado season. And in the case of a power outage, they thought that it would be interesting to send a text message to their members, a campaign of text messaging, to check in with their members to see if everyone was doing all right. And if some people were not responding, well, basically the village sets up this wonderful service that is trying to reach out to those members, check in with them, maybe on the phone or somewhere else. And then if they, if everyone is okay, then fine. If some people are not okay, well, then basically the village can help coordinate care either with a volunteer that can go help, or contact, local authorities or fire department, police department. So I'll also be showing this in the software, how to do this. And there's a third interesting aspect, is the geographical information. Villages happen in these different neighborhoods, and it's interesting to show a map. We also have a map in Helpful Village. I'm going to show that also within the product. So this is basically the agenda for the demo. So I'll be showing all of this within Helpful Village. Before I do that, I need to give you a little bit of contextual information. Sale, which is this village in Madison, Wisconsin, Also presented at the conference something that is called a go bag or a grab and go bag. And for those that don't know what it is, I borrowed one of their slides. I hope they don't mind. So you can find this on their presentation. But this is an example of different things that they recommend you put in a go bag. Actually, they prepare the go bag for their members. Every member that signs up, they prepare a go bag that is by the door. And in case of an emergency, the members have all these different things they can take with them when they're going to a shelter or maybe to the hospital or any other place. So this is just basically a definition of a go bag. Oh, this is a real go bag. They research what are the different articles that people would need. I know another village in California does also a go bag, La Morinda village. So different villages are preparing these go bags. If your village doesn't have this service, it may be something you want to add. Obviously, this is a very material thing, so we don't do a virtual bag, but we have a way in the software to manage the information. So basically knowing what members have received the go bags, when did they receive it, etc. I will show that in the software demo too. Before I go into demo mode, I need to share some information with you. So this is basically the presentation I did at the conference. I will not do the whole 1 hour presentation, mostly because some people here saw the presentation at the conference and some other people already know my mom and they don't need to hear about that anymore. But it's always good to see a pic of my mom. This is the conversation, how I got into the village movement, just skipping through all of this, building a software platform that would be easier to use. We recommend villages if they want to grow their membership, that they offer. This is an important pyramid that even if you know this pyramid, it's good to see it again. Mostly villages were offering in the beginning services and events. With Helpful Village, we added the possibility to be COVID safe and add virtual events integrated with a calendar of events in Helpful Village. But we think also that villages are increasing their offer, making it more valuable to become a member. And we see more and more villages running these check-ins campaigns that will be presented actually today. And Village Talk, which is the online conversation. This is quite also interesting because we have seen more villages using Village Talk for online conversations. We also presented at the conference that we actually started doing some work now with Capitol Hill Village for adding a health module or a care management module into Helpful Village. So this is something that is not available in the product today, but it's definitely some direction where the company is heading, because we see that so many members have health-related requests, going to medical appointments, doctor appointments, stuff like that. So there needs to be some of that inside Helpful Village, and we started working on that, in particular with Capitol Hill Village. This is a list of modules that you know already, because you are either customers or you saw this last week. We added 2 basically new modules this year: background checks that can be requested from Helpful Village, and the emergency plans, which is what we're discussing today. You know, the growth of the company, you know, we updated the map, so we have all these maps across the country, which is nice. This is basically geographical location in some of the cities that you cannot see on the national map. This is another in Columbus, Ohio. This is what we do to towards diversity, and basically the availability in Spanish. And this is basically, well, this also you know about. So I basically Helpful Village CEO, that's myself, basically received an American Society on Aging fellowship for our work we do for increasing diversity among villages. Pricing, we don't need to discuss pricing. You all know pricing, so I'm just gonna keep through this. Clip. One more. Okay, so this is I need to tell you about this. So as you know, we're very proud to offer our services to individual villages, but we see the opportunity for increased collaboration among villages. So we start doing more and more things. We see villages that use the hub and spoke model, where they're sharing some resources, can be an office, can be a phone number, can be staff. So those functionalities are integrated in Helpful Village. It's not new, but we have been doing that for some time. Another interesting inter-village collaboration is the taxonomy project you are familiar with. And basically a cousin of the taxonomy project, which is a VIP project that I wanted to mention to everybody here in this room. So basically, taxonomy project is something our customers are very familiar with, because it's basically based on a classification of services that allows us to count and classify the number of services nationwide. The name of the volunteer services are customizable, so everyone can call them whatever they want. But if we want to add up numbers regionally or nationally, we need to use a taxonomy, and this is some work that basically Capitol Hill Village initiated to have a universal taxonomy of services that we have used to collect national numbers. And then the VIP project, for those that have not heard about it, is something that was, I believe, announced at the conference. It's actually the Village to Village Network project for data collection. So it's basically the continuation of the taxonomy project we were doing before, kind of regionally in DC or in different areas. We did something in California before too, but basically VIP is basically V2V joining the game and basically starting the data collection at a national level. So here again, these next 3 slides are slides that are borrowed from their presentation. So I invite everybody to go check the presentation that Bill Kincaid, board member of V2V, Carol Paquette, who's past president of V2V, and Erin Mabasi, who's a Village to Village Network board member, presented about the VIP project. So VIP are the initials of Village Impact Project, and this is how they define it. It's moving toward measuring their mission, right? So they did a 1-hour presentation. Again, I'm not gonna repeat the 1-hour presentation, but definitely invite you to go watch what they presented. This is another of their slides. One thing they did is that basically, because Helpful Village was at the very beginning of this project and so interested in this national data collection project, we invited our customers if they wanted to participate in a report, in a national report of villages. And this is the list of our customers that have accepted to do so. So if your name is on this list, you know what this project is about. We produce a report that we send to V2V, adding up the number of members, the number of volunteers, and basically the number of services that all of these villages were doing. So usually villages are speaking in the hundreds, right, of members. But because we put here a report with a lot of villages together, now suddenly we're starting to talk in the thousands or tens of thousands of members. So basically those numbers are much more important and more impressive. So if your name is on this list, you don't need to do anything. You already embarked on the VIP project. If you're a customer with Helpful Village, your name is not in this list, well, you can join, because we're happy to make this circle bigger. There is a very simple process. We work with V2V on this, so they send an email by which you authorize Helpful Village to send a very tiny bit of data, of your data, basically the number of members or the number of services in an aggregate, without any personal information to V2V, and then basically they receive the report. If you want to be part of this, you can always contact well, the team at V2V, or you can contact our team at Helpful Village through support@helpfulvillage.com. I received 1 or 2, or I don't know, after the conference, a few requests from some villages. We need to use the taxonomy to classify their services, and then we can easily add them to the report to have a bigger national report. This is the last slide that I'm using from V2V, but basically they had more slides, so you should check them out. But basically V2V was very happy that we did this proof of concept. Essentially, like, we produced this PDF report, which is what we would call before the PDF, the taxonomy report. Maybe you can call it the VIP report now. And it shows the total number of members of all the villages that I showed before, and the total number of volunteers of all the villages I said before, total number of services provided, number of hours that were done by volunteers for those services. And this for a period of time, so over a year. V2V is announcing next steps. Next steps is that there is a webinar that is going to take place. They said at the time, they said later in October 2022. It's actually on the 26th of October at 4:30 Eastern time. There is a meeting with the villages that are participating in the first round. So you can go to the V2V calendar, register for that event. And basically for all the people that are participating in the VIP project, we're going to discuss, well, what are the results of that report? How do those numbers look like? And then eventually, how do we expand that report to add additional things? So the participants of the first round are invited to the meeting. If you're not participating in the first round, well, I guess you cannot participate because Here's some less, but obviously what we want is that to do a second round of the report with more villages submitting data. And I'm inviting definitely the Village to Village Network so that we do another session informing people that are not already inside the project so that they understand better why they should join. For the 31 villages in the study, there was, they did a quick analysis of the report. And basically the report that we did with all the villages we showed before, we can see that there was a 10% increase in membership over 1 year, which is a good sign of health for the village movement and shows how exciting it is for the national movement to actually know what's happening in villages across the nation. This is the helpful village analysis of why VIP is so important and why we are so excited to collaborate with the Village to Village Network on this. I'm gonna go quickly about this. I was asking at the conference if someone knew what these things stood for, capable and HARP. If you don't know about these programs, those are the acronyms for Community Aging in Place, Advancing Better Living for Elders. And the second one that is HARP, Home Hazard Removal Program. So basically the first one is Johns Hopkins University. Through the School of Nursing, basically they launched a study proving the efficiency to help older adults. And basically it translated in what is called in the jargon an evidence-based program. And basically now there are federal dollars that go to this capable program. Same thing for HARP. They basically looked at the data, did a study, and now they're receiving tax dollars for running their operations. Now there is a third program that is called Villages that everyone in this meeting is very familiar with. Well, we do not receive federal dollars in general. And we deserve federal dollars because we're doing a lot of good work. I mean, you deserve that money. But the only way to get it is if we become an evidence-based program. That means producing data and looking at that data. So there are other programs out there that receive taxpayers' money. And I think villages should receive taxpayers' money. And that's why we're doing the VIP project. Actually, there are already policymakers that want to give money to villages. We have seen this. I have personally been in meetings with V2V and with policymakers and advisors in Washington, D.C. that really liked the village model and that they think that it should be funded, except we had no data and no scientific study. And they said, well, if you don't bring us some data and a scientific study, basically we cannot give you money. So now it got us to work, and that basically now we have data through the VIP project, not enough data, so we need to keep working on that. But when we will have enough data, it will be possible to do a scientific study. And with data scientific study, we're hoping we can bring money and federal funding for all the good work that all villages are doing. Scientific study shows effectiveness is an example of how capable did their scientific study in their case. So this is not about villages, what they do, but kind of what they were trying to show is that they had found that 75% of people improve. Their average improvement is cutting in half their amount of disability. So what basically this program is about is that they get together a nurse, an occupational therapist, and a handyman. They go visit a person, an older adult in the community, and they see that, wow, there is some stuff that needs to be modified, maybe handlebars, maybe a ramp, maybe something that makes their houses more safer. Because they're safer, they don't fall, they don't get sick, they don't go to the hospital, and basically the government is saving money. So basically what they say here is that basically CMS evaluators found that they can save $10,000 per year per participant for up to 2 years to Medicare if people enrolled in this program. We want to do similar kind of study where basically we're saying, well, if people were enrolled with villages, they are more social, active, purposeful, and we show that basically they cost less to social security or Medicare or Medicaid or anything like that. And basically because it's a program that helps people and saves money to the government, well, basically the government could provide some federal funding for villages too. The whole game with evidence-based programs that you are making an impact in older adults' life that produces data, it becomes an evidence-based program, and then therefore there is funding. HARP and Capable did it. So I believe villages should be doing that too. We can do that. We have national data through the VIP project. This is a repetition of the same slide because there was, okay. And then scientific study, the next steps about the scientific study is something that Obviously, it's usually a university that would do this. And the good news here is that we have been working at Helpful Village with universities for a long time. As you all know, the project started at the University of California, Berkeley, where I was working with a professor even before the company started. And we were already discussing about how to do this study. And through the years, we have collaborated with these other research institutions, Ohio State University in Columbus, Ohio, have done some research projects with Stanford University. We're in collaboration with Rutgers University. And I think USC could be playing a role soon with this research, because I made another announcement at the conference that basically I have become now an adjunct lecturer. So I'm now teaching myself at the USC School of Gerontology, teaching to graduate students about what villages do, what is it that they do, how can we use technology, how to use data, and on all of these things. So some of these students are PhD students. I'm hoping that maybe one of them will pick up the topic, do the research, do the scientific study, and basically get the funding for villages that they deserve to receive. So I'm going very quickly because all of these things I already said, but I want to make sure that everyone knows about the announcements that were made at the conference. This is my last slide here, which was high quality, or why would people sign for Helpful Village? Because it's a high quality platform for village excellence. And then because we're doing this data research and federal funding. So contact information, and that's it. Okay, I have 2-3 more slides here. So that's it. That's the content I presented at the conference. I don't want to spend too much time on that. I just wanted to make sure that everyone had heard it at least once. This is actually a list of improvements that come from this monthly webinar release, okay? So we're changing sectors, and then I have 3 slides for improvements we have done this month. After these 3 slides, we're gonna move on to the demo. Okay, here, one modification we did is the impact report that we produce. You click one button, basically it produces a report that is counting the results. We added the box that you can see there on the bottom right, sorry, notification sent. And it's based on the success of the Village Talk module. So basically this module where there are online conversations that is picking up. We got excited and we thought it was necessary to show the impact of this module on the impact report. So as you can see on this example, you can have a village that has maybe 171 members. This particular village doesn't run volunteer operation, and that's fine. They organize 32 events in this month of September. Interestingly, they post 26 posts on Village Talk. So they go and they write a message on Village Talk about local news, local events. I know they are organizing a social event this month, and they go there and they post it. But basically, the message is posted there. It can be seen by any of the members that is subscribed to this interest group. And then the Helpful Village automatically sends an email overnight to the members that are subscribed to that interest topic. And that is basically this notification sent number. And obviously this notification sent number, we wanted to add it to the impact report because it's a big impact. Basically with 26 posts that were made, where we're sending 5,000 emails in a month. And those 5,000 emails, we believe are high quality emails because they contain basically the post of one of the members in the village that had a comment about, I don't know, the movie club, the book club or something. So for one person that writes it, there is a lot of other people that receive a notification, local news about something happening in the village. So that, you know, counting the post as we were doing before is interesting, but also having an indicator of how many members in the community, so these 171 members, rather than being isolated in their homes, well, basically they were able to read an interesting post by one of their neighbors, and this should be shown in the report. So we added there in the impact report. It's going to be coming here in the monthly release. This is another improvement we did this month. It's going to come to your servers this weekend. It's something we did with our work with the Villages OKC in Oklahoma City. So they run all these programs and basically sell tickets for interesting events and actually training on a variety of topics. And when they sell tickets, basically what we're doing before is on the pay tab of that person, and in the report, basically we're saying, well, basically the reason for the payment, we were saying ticket purchase, but basically they were having a hard time kind of identifying, well, that was a ticket purchase for what event. So now we added the additional information you see there in red. So now we say, we give a little bit more information. Ticket purchase for the event on 12th of October, 2022, and named advanced something. So that's the beginning of the name of the report. So when you're doing kind of reconciliation of basically credit card payments with your events, well, now it's easier because you can see on the record what was that payment for. This is my last slide, and then I go to demo mode. These are the things that are happening next. There is a Helpful Village Users Group Q&A webinar next week with V2V. So it's on this is a regular that we do every month. So every month we organize a meeting with V2V. It's actually a Q&A session where villages come up with questions, anything they want to ask. They send the message. They send the question ahead of time to Gary, who's our national coordinator. Chris, maybe if you can put the address, the email address in the chat would be helpful, because I forgot to put it here. But it's something like hvusers@v2vnetwork.org. And then basically, if you send your questions ahead of time, then Gary coordinates with our team so that we can put the questions in the right order. We can think about interesting answers to those questions, and basically we can discuss them live during the webinar we do together with V2V next week, basically at 2 p.m. Eastern. That's the usual time. There is an extra session that the participating villages, 31 that I said before, are invited to participate on. This is also on the V2V calendar. It's October 26th. It's the same day, a little later in the day, 4:30 p.m. Eastern. Those that are participating in the VIP project are invited to participate. We're going to look at the report together, and we're going to discuss about next steps. How do we keep moving forward? So that's a very interesting meeting too. And then the last two items there are new features we'll be working on next week. So this will not become available on the server this month, but basically the month after. But this is coming, so I wanted to let you know what it is. So we were discussing with a village at the Falls in Portland, Oregon, and they had this request that was interesting. They create their events, and some of the events they put on their calendar is actually work meetings for the village, which I think is interesting, in particular for villages that are starting, because it shows activity. And basically they know ahead of time that some of the meetings in the calendar are actually work meetings by volunteers, can be a steering committee or something like that. So they had this idea, and I think it's interesting, is adding a checkbox there to the event so that we can say this is a meeting, kind of a work meeting. And if this checkbox is created, Helpful Village will automatically create the reporting hours for the people that were present at the committee. So basically, it's interesting for the village to count how many hours have been done by volunteers when the steering committee or the leaders of the volunteers participate in a meeting like this. Those hours should be counted, and we can count them automatically, because they were saying, well, why would you go manually create those hours if we already know this was a meeting? So that's an interesting feature that will come. And the next one that we want to work on is actually a suggestion from Capital City Village in Austin, Texas, which is long overdue. Actually, we should have been we should have done this a long time ago. We have several mailing lists in Helpful Village. We have the list of active members, of active volunteers, of prospects of different sorts and stuff like that. But we don't have a mailing list for organizations. And that's very weird, because you can accept donations from organizations and foundations, stuff like that. And it should be easy to have a mailing list to send them either the newsletter or a fundraising campaign, etc., to raise money from not human people, but basically organizations that may also be interested in donating money to your organization. So we will be adding a mailing list for the organizations in the platform, a little bit like we do for people, but for organizations and providers and stuff like that. Okay, so that's it. So that was my slides. Now let's move on to the demo, which is kind of the fun part of the presentation. I need to stop sharing this screen. Before I start the demo, if someone has any questions, this may be a good time to ask the question before we start the other demo. Now I realize I have not breathed in 10 minutes. Okay, this is it. I need to find my screen. Okay, here. Okay, so no more slides. This is Helpful Village demo. This is our platform. I'm logged in as an admin, and I'm going to show you where all these different emergency preparedness features are, right? So first thing that I'm going to do is going to show you some information that villages are gathering for the emergency preparedness plan. So I'm going to search a person in the database. I'm going to search myself. And then for any given person, all our customers are very familiar with this screen, but for those that are not our customers, basically we have a page with the information relative to a person in the database. This person can be, as you can see with this green dot, it's an active member. It's also an active volunteer, because it has a green dot on the active volunteer. We store a lot of information about this person on different tabs. The general tab about general contact information, where this person lives, the membership information, when do they expire, member since, etc. All of that kind of information, volunteer, prospect, payment that this person has made, different notes that we have been writing, different emails we have sent to this person. What I want to show you about the emergency preparedness is here. If you go to additional info, you can store different things, the primary doctor information, member needs, member alerts, check-in frequencies. An interesting question you can do. This is relative to the check-ins module that we'll be discussing later. So I believe the check-in module is super interesting and underutilized so far. But this is a program by which you can pair members and volunteers. And I think all villages should be calling their members with a given frequency. This frequency can be, like it is the case here, calling the member weekly, can be longer. You know, if you say, well, we want to call all our members at least monthly, well, then you change the 7 to 30, and then that's it. You have first emergency contact information. So in this case, for me, the first emergency contact would be Christina with a phone number, a cell phone, an email, etc. So it's easier to find relative to this person in the additional member info. This is a first person, this is a second person here. First reference, second reference is not necessarily emergency related, but it's kind of additional information we can store about these people. There are a box down here that is information specifically about emergency plans. Actually, this information, as I said before, is kind of it's coming from a questionnaire that Sausalito Village designed, discussing with the fire department and the police department, and those are interesting questions in that regard. So basically, there are these vulnerability levels. So you can put people in 3 different levels: vulnerable, moderately vulnerable, least vulnerable, medical equipment that they use, oxygen, etc. All these things are useful for the emergency department. If this person has an emergency supply kit or not. Actually, we added this field. Sausalito may not be familiar with this one, but when we saw the presentation from Sale, we thought that it was important to add this grab and go back distribution date. So if we are giving them dates, now you have the possibility to say, okay, this is a new member, and we gave them a grab and go back, or the go back, if you want to call it that way for short. You can choose a date and save it in the profile, so that basically you know all the members that received a go back and at what date did they receive it. These are other questions that are useful in case of emergency: number of dogs, of cats, of birds, of pets. If this person has received an evacuation plan, if this person has pet crates, has food supplies for 3 days, yes or no, because these are things that are recommended. If this person has an evacuation plan, if this person has a car, if this person has ability to drive, if he can have someone that drives, has someone to drive them, and this one is an interesting question too, if they have an electric garage door opener. There are other questions you can have about current health, mobility issues, special needs, etc. But just basically what I'm saying is that you can have a questionnaire asking people for this information, and then storing this information on the person profile, and then run a report so that you can have a view of basically a list of your members that may be under-equipped or not ready in terms of emergency. This just collecting information about those people. I'm going to show you next another thing, which is when you go here to admin, people management groups, okay? When you go to groups, there are many different groups in Helpful Village. Not all of them related to emergency preparedness. So basically, I'm going to start with the groups that are not emergency preparedness. So basically here, these are typically the groups of volunteers for volunteer services that are given to members, kind of computer assistance, rides, these kind of typically what things that people do all the year for members. There are village builder activities like data entry, envelope stuffing, IT technicals, kind of volunteer activities that you can do for the organization. You have these different tags because you can tag people in your village with different things. You have different mailing lists, as I said before, with active members, active volunteers, and other donors, events, etc. Different these interest groups are the groups that people can join for village talks. So you may have a group of people that are interested in the book club, another group of people that are interested in a meeting that is called men's coffee, technology updates. You can actually call them whatever you want, but these interest groups is for village talk. And basically the one that it will be using for emergency preparedness is this one called check-ins, right? Because we want to make sure that everyone is okay. So our recommendation is that you set up 3 different groups in here. So I'm going to actually, if I click on this one, it's going to enter into the details of those groups. So here, you can add more groups and organize them in a different way. From our conversations, what I believe is most useful, what I like the most is having these groups at the top. I'm going to explain. Check-ins actually here is a group that is given to you by default. This is actually the regular check-ins. As I said before, I think villages should be calling their members from time to time. As a son of my mom being in a village, I would like the village to call my mom from time to time, whenever that's possible. If it's every week, if it's every 2 weeks, if it's every month, it's every 6 months, I don't know, but should call. The village should call with members from time to time, and this happens here. If you check on these check-ins, it's the kind of regular check-ins that happen all year round with a frequency that is defined with a member. Well, I would like to be called maybe every week or every 2 weeks. There are some members that want to be called every day because for them it's important that someone checks in with them to make sure that they are alive and that they're doing well, etc. So the check-in frequency is different for every person, but and then you can customize that in the software, and that happens with this group that is called check-ins. Okay, so this is kind of these check-ins here is the regular check-ins all year round. Now, for an emergency, we recommend you have these 3 different groups: emergency high, emergency medium, and emergency low. So this is similar, or you can call it differently, but basically the whole idea here is what we saw before for Sausalito, is basically how much help people in these groups may need, right? So if you have some members that actually are physically fit and ready to go, etc., and then they would need little attention during an emergency, I would put them in this emergency low group, right? Because essentially, okay, if there's a power outage, I want to check with the people that are in the emergency high first. These people that are more frail, and we want to pay extra attention to this emergency high. So basically you have these 3 groups, and then you can enter into each one of these groups. And for each one of these groups, you can come here, and these are typical groups. So you can add another person here, and you can remove a person from this group and add it from the other groups. So typically management of a group like you would do somewhere else, but basically this is a distribution of your membership depending on the need. I mean, how critically they would need assistance in case of an emergency. I created other groups. I created in particular this one, which is emergency SMS for short message system, which is basically the text messaging group. I added myself here. But this is basically because all these groups that you have here in the check-ins, you can send text messages to these people, right? So you can organize these other groups in whatever way you want to send your text messages. You can send 3 text messages separate to this group, this group, this group, or maybe say, well, I want to send the text message to only this, or this, only this, or create a separate group where basically say, okay, this is my emergency list. These are all the people I want to send a text message in case of an emergency. So you can choose your groups. In terms of a check-in, I like this concept of, how critically you need help. Check-ins is a little different. It's all year round. and then this one, which is essentially sending a message. So you can put people in these groups, as I showed. The next thing that I'm going to show is things that we were working on with Jersey, and they run very effectively. And I really like the test they did. It's basically that they come basically to the admin side. If they go to text messenger, it's a module that allows to send text messages to people here, right? So some of our customers are used to the email messenger, which is very similar. It's basically we're going to send an email to people, and in that, and maybe you should send both, right? You can send an email and a text message. Why not? This particular case for Jersey was interesting in text messages because if there is a power outage, everyone or their members get out of the home, they have their phone with them, and basically there's a notification text message was interesting. So you can create a new text message. And with a new text message, it's very easy, right? So basically from here, you choose who do you want to send it to. And all of these are the groups we saw before. Remember, emergency high, emergency low, emergency medium, or emergency SMS, whatever group you want to send to, and select that group. And then after you select the recipient, this is your message. Now, this is something we learned with Jersey when we were working on this, is that when you send a text message to a large group of people, the phone operators, they have their own spam filters, right? Like we don't like commercial ads from texting and stuff like that. So AT&T, Verizon, and all of these guys are trying to check if you're spamming people or if this is a legit message, right? So there are some rules. Essentially, you should text people that have authorized you to contact them, right? Like you don't want to spam people. And there are some other recommendations and guidelines that help with the deliverability of your messages, like making sure that they go beyond they don't get stuck on the spam filter. One of the things would be saying from who the message is coming. So the recommendation is that you come here and say from the JVSO Village, and then you type your message here saying, okay, there is following, okay, Ian, there is a power outage in Jersey. Well, let me not say this because I don't want to jinx it. So basically in this place, and they had come up with this message, which was very interesting. So please respond to this message. Please reply to this text message with feeling okay if you are all right. This is not the exact message. So Jersey, if you look at the Jersey presentation, you will have the more precise description. Basically, if you're all right, you can type feeling okay. And then there was something here like, if you don't reply, we will try to reach out, something like that. Okay, so that would be basically the emergency preparedness message you send out. Obviously, it's customizable. If you need to say something else because there's a fire somewhere and you need to say something, you can customize that message. But the main intent here was checking in with people, giving them an opportunity to say, okay, actually in their specific case, they just needed to respond with okay or something like that. And then we send this message basically through Helpful Village. We go to the carriers send and deliver this message to all these people. Now, there's another comment I wanted to make. Is this thing, kind of text stop to cancel text, right? So this thing, I did not type it. It actually came up with the template of the text message, because we also realized that this helps get through the spam filter, right? So AT&T in particular, they had a picky kind of spam filter, and basically they are happier if you give your members the possibility to unsubscribe from text messaging, right? So this may be something you have seen. For example, I know I for my pharmacy, I have this, service when they let me know when I need to go pick up something or stuff like that. But if you give your members the possibility to stop, basically the phone carriers are happier because they see that you're a good citizen, allowing people to unsubscribe from unsolicited messages. So it's good to keep this one at the end. You can delete it if you want, but if you delete it, well, basically you're making AT&T more suspicious, and they can block your messages, etc. So it's a good thing to leave it there, and basically our server will take care If someone does not want to keep receiving these messages, we're gonna let the village know, etc. Now the message is ready. Just go out here and just send it, and that would be it. Okay, so I'm not gonna send it, but you understand the principle. Just hit this big fat button here, and it's gonna send. Then once you send, basically you can see that in the list of the message that I'm sending, and then you can see also the status. So basically we can hear through our provider if the message was sent or if it was received, which is an interesting difference, because you can send the message because it gets spam, if it's stuck in the spam filter or something, well, it's not received because they blocked it, and that you're informed of that through this report. Now, if you're a good citizen, if you're sending the message, as we said, with these good guidelines here, chances are that now we overcame the spam filter from AT&T, and then your members are receiving the message. Okay, so from there, what happens is that a person receives the text message on their phone, and basically they can text back, and they're gonna say, okay, feeling okay, etc. When they text back, basically I'm gonna show it here on my profile. The message they send back is gonna be recorded on the text messenger, so you can see it. Sorry, I did that too quickly. So basically, from the text messenger, you have here the difference between if it's the village sending it out or if the village is receiving the message. You can also see that on the personal profile. So if you search for any person, obviously I'm coming to myself. Either I clicked on my name, so it goes straight to it, but I can also search it and find it that way. The text messages are visible on the activity tab. Okay, so if you go to the activity tab, these are different emails that have been sent to this person. Thank you for your donation. So this is not what we want to look at. Want to look at is here, text messages. You see here. So basically, these are different messages that have been sent. So I sent from helpful village, please send feeling okay if you're doing all right, text stop to cancel text, etc. And then we have here all these other messages that have been exchanged. Yes, it is, etc. So the whole text conversation is being recorded here. When we receive a text message from a village member, we also send an email to the village administrator saying, the village has received a new text message. This is what it says, etc. You can click on this email and it's going to show the text message what it was. So what basically Jersey is doing is that they go here to the text messenger side, and when they invited people to respond, well, they see all the responded here saying, yes, I'm doing okay. So obviously these messages were test messages, so they don't look as good, but basically they can see feeling okay, I'm doing all right, etc. So from all the text messages that they receive back, they're able to see, okay, all these people are feeling okay, etc. Or someone did not respond. So you can produce a report and then basically cross in that report who has not responded, who needs attention, maybe who do we need to call back, etc. So just we're reaching out to people, checking in with them. If they don't reply, we want to get back to them. Which brings me to the next part of the demo, which is basically something that that is part of the work we did in combination with Sausalito and Jersey. So it's actually village maps. So if you click on village maps, it's basically the geographical distribution of your members and volunteers in the village. So every time you recruit a member, if you activate this setting, you have the possibility to set up a map that is dynamic, and it's going to show these different things. I'm going to check all of this first. The demo here is in New York. This is our demo site. Obviously, this would be the geographical area of your village, right? So one thing, for example, that Sausalito did is that they created these different neighborhoods. You see here is these different areas of surfaces, basically breaking down the geography of their village in these different segments with different shapes. We have different, so this mentioned in Sausalito because it's related to the emergency preparedness, but other villages also have done the geographical distribution, etc., of their areas where they can draw it here. Now, another idea that Sausalito village brought up is these neighborhood captains, which is the possibility to give for every, any of these neighborhoods, a person of contact that is leading the effort in that neighborhood. So for example, if there is an alert, let's say down here in Midtown Manhattan, and I'm looking at the map, I want to know who's the local person. I can click on that one, and I know that my local coordinator is Melda Hale. I have her phone number. So basically the village coordinator can call her. It's like, Melda, I know there is a fire. They have some problem, etc. How is everything going? Is there something we can do with you? I'm speaking with the fire department. We're here to help you. And I know there is a number of other operations that the local coordinators or neighborhood captains are doing in Sausalito. So, again, please go to the Village to Village Network conference and look at other activities that their coordinators do. But basically, from the software side, we made it possible to show where they are and basically how to easily find them and get their contact information. Next thing that you can have on the map is that you can have the list of members. And then obviously you can zoom in. It's a dynamic thing. So basically, we're talking about Melda, that she lives here, the captain, and you can see that there's this member nearby, this other member nearby, this other member nearby. Okay. There is a color code here, right? So the members are, you can see these red houses and the yellow houses. And the legend is on this side. So the members are shown here in red, and you can click on any of those. There's someone living in this funny island here, so that's cool too. And then the yellow color is people that are members and volunteers at the same time. You can have people that are both members and volunteers. So those are labeled here in yellow. It works the exact same thing. So if you click on them, you see their address, their role, and their name. If you click on their name on their name, it's actually gonna go to their profile. So that's convenient too. Let me see here, Carol. If I click on her name, it's gonna take us away from the map, and I have all the general information for her. If I want to pick up her emergency plan information, I can easily come here, look at the information on her emergency plan. If she had dogs, cats, etc., you can do that very quickly from the map. And then any other information you want, her personal profile. So go back to the map. It's here. So we have the members, and the other layer we have here is the volunteers. So if I'm, for example, if I know that this member needs help, like, wow, maybe, I'd like to find a volunteer nearby. I can display the volunteers on the map, and I can see that near this member, there is this volunteer. And I can potentially call Carmela Denesek saying, hey, Carmela, we're trying to reach out to this member. Katrina Marvin, we cannot have it. She lives a block away from you are. Would you mind knocking on her door? So, with this geographical information, it's easy to find a volunteer near one of your members that can do something. There's another cool thing about the map that you can do here, and this is you can search. So if you're looking for a specific member, right? Like when you look at the map, like, wow, there's a lot of members in our village, which is good. But then you can also search, and this search is going to filter this map. So basically, if I'm looking for Bailey, I see that there is Krista Bailey, which is one of our members, that she lives here. There is Carmelo Bailey, and there is probably another Bailey down here. Nikia Bailey, right? So with the map, you can also very quickly, look at the overall situation of all villagers. You can also search for a specific person. Now, there is something that I'm going to show you next that I'm super excited about. Is that you have this map as with all these layers that you see here. There is another aspect that we're doing. And it's connecting the dots, right? We're connecting the map with the text messaging service that we're doing. Because what I found super interesting that Jersey was texting all their members, checking with them, see how they're doing for this emergency. So you can create an emergency in Helpful Village. You can create different ones, right? Depending on different dates and stuff like that. For example, here, if there is a tornado or if there is an earthquake, it's something you can create in a different aspect of Helpful Village. I'll show you that later. And when you select it, it's going to actually pull basically the check-ins you have done with your members, like how are these people feeling? And then if you go here, you have these different emergency kind of groups that we saw before. So if you want to see the members that are for example, if you want to take care, this is what I would do. I would take care first of the members that have high that need more attention first, make sure that they're all doing all right. And then I can filter the map this way. And then basically you can see all these smiley faces here is also color coded. What it means is that how are these people feeling? What this thing says is that these people, we have not checked in with them. This Alexis Fashi, we don't know how this person is doing. I'm gonna check on this map on the icon here. And basically this is connected with the check-in module. So this person, they have not answered. We don't know how they're doing. We send them the text message, but we don't know if they're okay, right? So what I'm gonna do here, I click on this not answered. and it's going to open this check-in module page, basically. So here I have the name and address of the person, their phone number. I can call this person, and as I call her, I can record the conversation with her on the system. So I can say that today at on October 19 at noon, which is exact, it's the present time. You can change this, right? If it's a different time, you made this call, but it's going to default to the current time. There are some guidelines that the village can distribute to your volunteers. So you can tell, well, when you're calling the member, please ask them this, right? So this is a generic instruction, but you can also go to settings, services, check-ins. And if you have a specific instruction, for example, if there is an earthquake and there is something that you need your volunteers calling the members, they need to ask, you can have the guidelines specifically. So you can customize these guidelines for your call. One of the intents of this call is to ask how this person is feeling. So basically, let's say that this person is feeling good. She doesn't need any groceries. She doesn't need medication. She doesn't need a callback. So all these checkboxes, you can check if they apply. You can say, well, what was her name? Alexis is feeling great. And then basically conversation topics, you can record what you discussed with her. In this case, it's an emergency check-in. And I stayed on the phone with her for 5 minutes. Okay, so that's going to record the total duration. You can add more topics because this is actually the same check-in module you can use regularly, right? For during the year about things that you have been discussing with members. If you were maybe discussing about a village party, you can have a lot more topics you have been discussing about, and then basically just save it. And when you save it, it's record the information about the phone conversation that I had either as an admin or that I had as a volunteer. So if you have volunteers calling your members to see how they're doing, you can have that there. Now, the interesting thing is that if we come back here, right? Now let's hide the volunteers, the local coordinators, and anything like that. And then if I zoom in, you see here now, this is the person, Alexis Fahe. Now this is a green, and she's feeling good. See what I'm saying? So this is showing on the map how your people are feeling. So if there was this emergency and the person is not feeling good, let's show that instead. This person not feeling okay, she's feeling terrible. So this person would need help. And then I save the same check-in call with them. And then I go back to the map. And then I check my emergency here. You see this red label here? This is Alexis because she's not feeling good. So basically now we can use the map not only to find where your members are, but also we're connecting basically with what Sausalito did, finding their members, with what Jersey did with the check-ins, asking them how they're doing. So basically here you can look at the map and basically find the fact that, well, this member up here, Krista, she's doing good, and we had a check-in with her, and then basically this other person is not doing good. We need to do something about it. So maybe we need to call the police department, the fire department, or maybe we need to find a volunteer nearby, and then maybe ask this person, hey, can you check on Alexis, because we had her on the phone and she really needs some help. So now we're combining where they are with the needs they have on their check-in that we just did with them. So I mean, I found that super interesting. There is even more than that, because this is basically how we're doing the check-ins on the phone with them, right? With a volunteer. There's other things that I did not show, but you can do a phone tree for your check-ins. Well, let me show it to you. So basically, this is other things that villages can be doing, is that you can pair, for example, you have this volunteer and you can designate them ahead of time with different 4 or 5 members they can call on check-in regularly, right? Either in the case of an emergency or regularly along the year. So you can do this pairing and basically distribute how these people are called. The other thing that I wanted to say about the map is that we are changing the colors of the check-ins, right? Based on how people are responding to the check-ins. Now, we did something that is super interesting, I believe, is that we wanted to help JVSO, knowing who did we need to check in with and with these colors and stuff like that. So we introduced the possibility to do a check-in via text message. Because actually what people were doing is that they were responding to the text message saying, I'm feeling okay. But you know what? They're sending that text message to us. So our server is going to read the text message. If it contains feeling okay, we don't need to call them anymore. I'm going to turn these people green already, right? So this will all, if you look at this map, it will all become green by itself when most people say they're feeling okay. And there are a few dots that will be black, and those are the people we want to call. I want to pause for a second because I get way too excited about this, and I want to make sure that everyone is following. So I don't know if we have questions about how we connected the check-ins with the text messaging, with the geographical information. So if there is a question, I can take it now. I can stop sharing for a minute. And I don't know, maybe there are no questions. If it's not, if there are no questions, either it was confusing, either it was very clear, or I don't know.
Manuel, this is Gary. You have a lot of questions firing off in the
Great,
chat.
thank you. I was worrying about that. So we can go into questions, yeah.
Well, we are over time a little bit. I was wondering if we can save a lot of those, and you can kind of work your demo towards those questions for next week.
Yes. Okay, cool. We will definitely take those questions. So first thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna save the chat. So make sure that we have those questions for next week. Let me see. Let me do that right away before I forget. Actually, I received the chat anyways, but it's saved. So we will be answering some of the questions. As Gary was saying, I'm sorry. Sometimes I get excited and I don't look at the clock. So we are overtime, and we don't want to do that. So so we don't. But maybe before we go, Gary, I'll take those questions. Invite everybody to register on the V2V calendar for next week. We'll be answering all the questions that are rose today. And I have one little demo I want to do, maybe show with you just for fun, and then it takes 2 minutes. Okay?
Okay, shoot.
So what I was saying is that we did the phone check-in. You have a volunteer calling a member, right? We also do the check-ins via text message. If someone says feeling okay or not, we're going to do the check-in for them via text message. The next thing that we're working on right now is the possibility to do a check-in through the phone. So if you have a member that doesn't want to text for whatever reason and they want to call the village, they could call the village and basically have an automatic service that is recording the check-in for the village if you want to set up that feature, right? So I'm going to just call a phone number and we're going to do a phone check-in with the phone. So let me see if I can call my demo village phone number, and then hopefully you can all hear what my phone says. I'm going to put the loudspeaker, and then it's just 2 minutes, and then we're done for the session. So I'm going to call.
If this is an emergency, please have.
Oh, I'm sorry, I pressed on the wrong button. Let me try again.
If this is an emergency, please hang up and call 911. Dear member, there is a Maria tornado emergency situation. We are trying to make sure that all of our members are okay. We would like to know how you are feeling. If you are not feeling good at all, press 1. If you are not feeling great, press 2. If you are feeling okay, press 3. We are happy to hear that you feel okay. Thank you for checking in with us. Goodbye.
So that's it. So we thought it was interesting to have this multi-channel way to check in with members, either through text message, as Jersey had initiated it, with your volunteers that are calling their members. That is always important. And the third channel that is, well, you can have an automatic phone service if you have members that want to call and you don't have time to take those calls because you're busy doing something else. Those are the 3 channels. So I thought we would finish today with that demo. We're coming back next week for the V2V webinar. Please don't hesitate to send the questions to Gary. I know he already has a good list of questions. We'll be working on the answers for those and bringing all the answers and responses to next week's webinar. I wanted to thank you all for coming, and then I want to see you soon. Thank you, everybody.